What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 396 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network. KB and Deej coming at you in, as we were discussing before we started recording, probably the most dead period of professional lacrosse we've ever had in the history of us running the two-man game on this show. Obviously, we have Super Sixes going on, but outside of that, it's been a whole lot of nothing because of this who's going to blink first NLL CBA negotiation. But according to a report, the season's going to go on as scheduled for now, so that has to be promising, question mark, but we don't really have anything NLL to talk about outside of one thing with a pretty big trade that happened earlier this week until a CBA gets agreed upon, and it's frustrating. It is annoying, and like we've always said, we are very pro player and want those guys to get their bag, want them to be fairly compensated for their work. But yeah, it's pretty much a standstill with that until then. So we'll talk about the trade. We'll touch on Super Sixes, but we were just thinking, we were like, what are we going to be able to do on this episode to make it entertaining for you guys? So we were just chatting like we always do. We are going to do a revisionist history / redraft of the 2019 Premier Lacrosse League entry draft, the college draft. We're not going to dive into like the odds and ends of like who else could have been drafted. We were using the draft board of the players that were drafted plus Ryder Garnsey, because Ryder is the most notable undrafted free agent from the 2019 class, and everyone knows the whole story pretty much why Ryder wasn't drafted. But in a more perfect world, Ryder Garnsey is drafted in the 2019 draft, and we're not talking about him being one of the greatest steals of all time as an undrafted free agent. But so it'll be the entire draft board from the 2019 draft. Deej and I are going to go through each round. We have the whole draft board in front of us, and we will redraft how we see fit for each player that was available in the 2019 PLL draft. There's some good ones, and there's going to be some fun, I think, discrepancies between Deej and I's draft process, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you do, let us know, and we'll keep doing it throughout this downtime period. We'll do it with each draft, potentially, and see where that takes us. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB Lax Pod across the board. We're on every social platform, so keep following us at OTB Lax Pod. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow Deej at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast in audio form, leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow. Plus, it helps more people find not only OTB, but all of our shows here at Underground. So keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify and leaving those 5-star ratings and reviews. And, of course, subscribe to both the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels. YouTube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia and YouTube.com/@OTBLaxPod. The main channel is where you get OTB every single week. I know our recording schedules have been pretty off lately. Playoff baseball, life, work, it's been nuts. We haven't really had to be on a strict schedule because there's no games or anything to talk about. So But once things get more settled, we'll be back on track. But subscribe to the YouTube channel at Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We are at 1,109 subscribers, which means we're 91 away from our next 100 subscriber milestone. Would love to hit that before or on my birthday, which is coming up in just a short 17 days at the time of this recording. So keep subscribing, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia, and subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. Once we get to 100 subscribers, we get rocking and rolling with the OTB College Show, DJing the kids, ready to rock and roll. And this show, guys, as you all know, is proudly brought to you by our friends over at Rita's in Sewell. Guys, just because the weather's getting a little chilly doesn't mean you can't stop by Rita's in Sewell for your favorite delicious treats this fall season. And guess what? Rita's, they're teaming up with Abbott Elementary. And if you know Deej and I, anything Abbott Elementary does, that's gospel to us. We love Abbott Elementary. Queen, Quinta, that is our GOAT. And right now, you can celebrate the return of Abbott Elementary with a faculty favorite. They chose mango, and you get extra credit Wednesdays. You get BOGO rewards on the Rita's app on Wednesdays. Thanks to Abbott Elementary, they've got the new Witch's Brewberry Ice that's topped with nerds, which looks absolutely delicious. But visit our friends at Rita's in Sewell, 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey. Let them know that OTB and Underground Sports Philadelphia sent you. Get all of your delicious treats. Stock up on them. You can get quarts and pints and just big old tubs to last you through the winter as well. So go to Rita's in Sewell or go to rita'ice.com to check out all their flavors and nutritional facts as well. And be sure to download that Rita's app so that you get your rewards. Who doesn't love free rewards? If it's free, it's for me. But big thank you to Rita's in Sewell for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia and the Outside the Box podcast. It's popping, Deej. It's been a week for us, bro. We thought we were going through it last week. Shit.
What was SpongeBob saying in the movie? Depression. I feel depression. Like that's pretty much where I'm living right now. Life has been a sad case of the sadness. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the only way to.
You've heard of down with the sickness.
Life.
We're down with the sadness.
Yeah, it's real bad right now. Actually,
it's real sad hours in this house.
Wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. At least the way it's worked out for me.
Yeah.
Every single day has been a new day of defeat. like you were saying, oh, at least it didn't happen all in one day. I would rather just destroy me for one entire day. Let me eventually get over it. But this is like repeated heartbreak.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
And it stings.
It all started last week when the Eagles lost to the Broncos. The Phillies lost game 1. Then they lost game 2. And then they won game 3. And then there was like a glimmer of hope. And then they lost game 4 in the most tragic, heartbreaking, unbelievable way. And then the Eagles lose to the Giants on Thursday Night Football to two humans that I'm pretty sure were just born with CTE.
Yeah.
And then the Flyers lost their opener on the same day. And on top of that, I'm watching the Flyers game last night. First time I was able to watch any sport, really, in 36-ish hours. And it looked like they won in overtime. And then the referees call goalie interference. Goal gets wiped off. 20 seconds later, Carolina wins. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I don't know if we'll ever win another game ever again, the way things are going. But I'm going to try to change the vibes tomorrow when I go to my first Flyers game since 2019, in which I've never seen the Flyers win in person in my cognizant lifetime. So yeah, that should be just fun, deplorable pain and suffering. Just like it has been waiting for this NLL CBA to get signed.
I mean, yeah, imagine being a Packers fan, Pistons fan, a Red Wings fan, Michigan fan, a Tigers fan. Welcome to the club of like feeling like you have just enough to then be disappointed.
I feel like Princess Leia in Star Wars.
Like, I don't know when my
Help me,
next win is going to
Philadelphia
come.
Union. You're my only hope.
I don't have an only hope right now. I don't. I guess Michigan basketball?
You still have the Packers.
Oh my, stop it, bro. Stop it.
You still have the Packers. The Packers season's not over.
We tied the Cowboys in
Okay, that was pretty funny, but still
a 40-40 game. Not even like, it was a defensive shootout and we just, neither team could really get it. 40-point tie.
You doubled your vision. You ain't seen 2020. You seen 40-40.
Yeah, disgusting. I didn't want to see any of that.
But on the flip side,
and we lost to the Browns.
Hindsight funniness, you can still say the Packers have never lost at Jerry World.
No, that tie is a loss.
It's not. It's a tie.
Yes, it is.
Packers have never lost at Jerry World.
We had no business.
And then there'll be an asterisk, and it'll say, but have tied. Oh, man. We're down bad, as you can all tell. But the NLL and the NLL CBA and the NLLPA and all of the NLL abbreviations, nothing has been agreed upon yet, but there is a report that Dawson J. Nielsen, who was on the Run Out pod with Neil Barrett and Hoots, breaking everything down, said that the season is expected to go as planned, like it's going to start as planned. Training camp feels like way later than we've normally gotten it. It's going to start the first and second weeks of November. That also just feels wildly late. We are going to have, if a season happens, we are going to have some ugly lacrosse the first couple of weeks of the season.
I believe so. Because nobody's going to be prepared. Nobody's really going to have done anything. I mean, you heard one said owner on a podcast talk about how he isn't doing anything at the moment in terms of training camp or anything because he doesn't know what's going to happen. And he's not spending any money that isn't refundable to him.
Man. First organization.
Obviously, I would assume that a lot of other owners are along the same lines and are not doing anything.
Right. It's frustrating, I think, for a lot of us, simply because we want to see the product out on the floor. We want to see these teams in action. We want to see lacrosse being played, no matter what style. And to not have anything to talk about, I think, is frustrating and very debilitating for just the growth of the sport. You know, the old adage, grow the game. This stalls the growth of the game because you had all this momentum. You had the momentum of, everything going with the NLL season last year, the finals, go into the PLL season. You had a great college season, in between both. PLL season was unbelievable. And now, since we're about a month, this week for the, first month of the New York Atlas winning their first title in club history, we'll be a month removed from that. We haven't had anything of the professional level be played. Yes, we've had, the Atlas Cup, we've had Super Sixes going on, but that's world stuff. That's global aspect of things. We haven't had organized team play from the professional level since the PLL championship game. And we wouldn't have games now anyway, but we would have had free agency to talk about. We would have had more trades to talk about. We would have had training camp to get riled up for and geared up for. And now that's getting pushed all the way to November. And it just feels like this month of October has been a huge gap that has set the momentum back for the fan base of pro lacrosse, where it's like we were building and building and building, and just like we've talked about it all the time, like lacrosse just feels like a 12-month-a-year sport now, no matter if you're talking NLL, PLL, whatever, college, whatever it is, like it feels like a 12-month-of-the-year sport. And now it's like, boom, this is the first time like we've had like this type of stall out in as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and like obviously, I don't even remember the last stall out because I don't think I was around for the last stall out in terms of like, I don't even think I was invested in lacrosse during the last stall out.
I think it was COVID.
And if I was, I just hadn't really dived deep into the NLL yet. So like my thing is, obviously this happens with other leagues and other sports and other things, but it doesn't drag out for this long. And then training camp like almost isn't as pivotal. Like, I guess because they practice every day, you know, like, and they've kind of been with these guys for the most part for a year, at least a season. A lot of guys are returning in a lot of other sports rather than, you know, what the rosters could look like. And it's really so different with lacrosse, and you can't really afford to have the beginning of your season not start correctly. You can't have a bad first 2 months of the season because you decided to go into this long CBA that you couldn't get figured out, because now any new fans are probably going to tune out because of what the product they're getting in the first 2 weeks, whatever the case may be in their trial period, because we didn't get this figured out. And for this to be my first holdout, like obviously, like I haven't said a ton. I've kind of just been watching it unfold because like I don't know the ins and outs of the conversation of the CBA and how it works with the NLL and how it has worked in the past. What are they trying to do differently that they haven't done in the past? What are they doing that's the same or similar to what's been done in the past? And how close they could be to, you know, actually getting to an agreement of a CBA. Like, get into this over in like the NBA. I could talk to you back and forth all day. I grew up watching the NBA. I understand and have gotten the information about how the CBA works and how those conversations happen between the owners and the players, who's leading those conversations, all those kind of things. So I have more knowledge in that. This here, kind of just been watching it from the outside looking in. It's a total clown show.
Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, it's a total clown show. Do I believe that's what's actually happening? No. But from what we've seen, what we've been given, how it's been talked about, etc., it literally seems like a clown show.
Yeah, I think the last stall out was when the 2019-2020 season got canceled because of the pandemic. And then there was a CBA negotiation after the 2019 season. So it was like the first year after we started covering the NLL that got agreed upon relatively quick, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong, so don't quote me. But after that, it was like 2021 when they signed like the long-term agreement when there was like the canceled season. They like came to an agreement on a longer-term CBA, and that one kind of just flew under the radar. And now we're at this one that has just been a very public negotiation. And by public, I mean you have one voice on one side of the aisle. We finally got voices from the other side of the aisle kind of voice their opinions, which, again, have to put this out there. The NLLPA, you are always welcome on this show. It is an open forum, open platform. Zach Courier, you know, you're our dog. But it's one of those things that it, like we said, it just stalls the momentum. And now, you know, the season's supposed to start US wise speaking, Black Friday weekend, which we've always championed. We've always said that should be the start of the NLL season. And then you're going to get 2, maybe 3 weeks of training camp, depending on when you start. That's tough. Like you said, like nobody's really doing any like organized team activity. You can only do so much on your own to be, prepared and ready. And you're not even like practicing in a game-esque, type practice like you would in a training camp. So it's like how much of what you're doing is going to translate, playing wall ball and working on your body and weightlifting and everything is going to take you to a certain point. But at some point you have to be in an organized team setting as well in order to know the tendencies of your teammates. Free agency still hasn't gotten anything going. We don't know where some players are going to go. And you look at some of the pending free agents that are available that are on a list that Dawson quote tweeted Adam Levy's original list. Like, there's some teams, like, you look at the Georgia Swarm right now, Deej. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 free agents, and 7 of them can reject the franchise tag. Buffalo, the defending champs, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 free agents. The Philadelphia Wings have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 free agents. Like there's a lot of teams. Vancouver has 7. Like there's a lot of teams that have like 7+ free agents upcoming. And that's a huge deal, not only for the teams that they are currently, in that franchise's like zeitgeist, but if they end up leaving and going to another team, now you have to learn a whole new lexicon. You have to learn a whole new team, whole new tendencies of guys. Like that's a big deal. And that's why, like, when the season starts, it's going to be ugly. I don't know. What do you think? The first 3-4 weeks of the year at minimum? Like, we could see some ugly lacrosse being played for a while simply because of everything getting stalled out this far into when this should have already been like resolved in a normal season.
Yeah, this should have been taken care of during the season, honestly. Like that, if you notice, that's where a ton of other leagues get this stuff done, is they've started to be able to get this done during the season so that the off season is like, they begin the talks during the season. So then once they get into the off season, it's very close to the beginning of the off season where they finally get a deal made, and then nobody's really missing out on anything because it was only about 2 weeks into the off season before the deal was made and everything moves on as normal. That's just not what has happened here. And we're seeing that effect happen right in front of our faces.
And it's very, I don't know if similar is the word. I just think it's like coincidental that they are happening at the same time. Like there's a lot of parallels between this and the WNBA.
Tons.
Where
You're right.
It feels like one side is here, player side is over here talking about, hey, here's this, that, and the third. We've seen growth. We've seen TV deals. We've seen, sponsorships come through. Why are we not reaping more benefit of that? And then you have over here, like, and that's the crazy part to me too, is not that I want Brett Frude to be more front facing in this, but it is weird that, like, he hasn't stoked the fire on the ownership side of things, getting this out of hand.
That's kind of his job.
As a commissioner, you are the liaison between the owners and the players. Yes, you work for the owners, but it's very strange to me that, like, nobody has gone and said, hey, shut the fuck up a little bit. You can have your thought process on everything, but constantly going on and this is not bashing Lax Class whatsoever. Like, good on them getting all of that for the people to hear, but it is strange to me that like Brett and like the NLL haven't tried to like put some of those fires out and been like, hey, can you shut up for 48 hours?
Or I don't know, focus that attention over here so we can actually get something done.
Right. Like, because with continuing the parallels with the WNBA, like Kathy Engelbert is very front facing in all of this. And like basically speaking on behalf of the owners with everything going on, and has been made out to be, you know, the villain in this ongoing negotiation for the WNBA and their players association, which like I get, you know, you're the commissioner, like you're the voice for the owners, but it is weird that like we're not getting more of a tempered kind of discussion when it comes to the NLL stuff, and having, you know, Brett Fruit. Like, Brett Fruit, you're welcome on the show. We've been trying to get you on the show since you got into office with the NLL. But it is weird to me that like you just, and granted this is just one owner, so it's not like it's every owner doing this. It's, and you know who it is if you listen to this show.
Right.
Just out there kind of just running ripshod on one platform, and that's kind of just been made out to be the voice of how every owner is kind of like marinating and taking this whole thing, which may not be the case.
I don't think it is the case, but like also at the same time, we have no other owner perspective to base it off of.
Right.
And like also, said owner has never come out and said, I'm not speaking for every other owner. like yes. There has been no clear distinction to be like, hey, this is just my thoughts, or hey, this is how every owner feels, or like these specific things are a general consensus. It's just been words from an owner's perspective. So why wouldn't we think other owners feel that way? That's like for us to have heard from a player and then to not think that other players don't feel that way. Until we hear another player's perspective, we have to assume there's some kind of general consensus about those things, regardless if it's player, owner, whatever. That side, we have to assume there's that some type of general consensus. Obviously, as humans, we don't agree on everything. We disagree on some things and we feel differently about some things. But at the end of the day, that's what it comes back to, is a lot of it is going to be similar.
Right. And until we just talk through that, like I didn't even have that thought until now that like he's not speaking on behalf of everyone. He's just out there like just flapping his gums like for himself. And it's not really on behalf of everyone. He's not he's not Oz in all of this. Like he's not the Wizard of Oz talking for, you know, the masses. He's just talking for himself. So we don't know how any other owner feels in this particular instance. So it is fascinating. It's also fascinating that even without an active CBA, we can still have trades happen. And former Calgary Roughnecks legend, former New York Riptide captain and legend, and now head coach and GM of the Ottawa Black Bears, Dan McRae, has struck his first trade in his tenure. And it's a pretty big one. If you missed the news, the Ottawa Black Bears made a trade with the San Diego Seals that centered around one Rob Hellyer. Rob Hellyer's heading to Ottawa to team up with Jeff Teat in exchange for the following assets. Goalie Cam Dunkerley, who, if you guys remember, 2 years ago now, I think it was the last season of the New York Riptide, Dunks went on like that Linsanity run in goal for the Riptide. I think he's a very bright young goalie prospect. Not that Origlieri is bad. He is one of the best young goalies in the league. But to have a quality backup like Dunks, if you need him, is pretty awesome, I'd say. Defenseman Andrew Dalton. Yes, Andy Dalton is heading to San Diego, everyone.
Nice.
Defenseman Dustin Burkhoff and a future second-round pick. Now, Hoots said that San Diego got fleeced. I saw a lot of people say San Diego got fleeced in this deal. We were talking pre-show a little bit about this. I don't think either team got fleeced in this trade. I think Patrick Merrill knows what he was acquiring here as the GM of the Seals. I think Dan McRae knows what he was eyeing to acquire as the new GM of the Ottawa Black Bears. I think this is a good trade for both teams. And Deej, I'll let you give your analysis too on this. But why I think this is a good trade? Number one, Ottawa gets Rob Hellyer, obviously. That's a perfect number one. We've seen what Rob Hellyer is able to do when he's not the Batman. And I think he kind of just got lost in the shuffle a little bit. Still had a very good year last year in San Diego, but like we weren't talking about Rob Hellyer the way we've talked about him in the past last year. And I think it was just him getting lost in the shuffle of a wildly talented San Diego roster, a lot of mouths to feed, and his skill sets weren't aptly used, in my opinion, the way that we've seen them used when he was in Vegas and especially when he was in Toronto. Rob Hellyer now gets to be the Robin to Jeff Teat's Batman. We have seen how fucking awesome Rob Hellyer is when he is the Robin to an elite premier player's Batman, a la Tom Schreiber. You know, seeing what he was able to do for all those years in Toronto, being the wingman to Tom Schreiber with the Toronto Rock was special. Anytime you saw that Toronto Rock roster, you were like, holy shit, like this team is loaded and you got to be able to stop Tom Schreiber, Rob Hellyer, Challen Rogers, the whole slew of them. And then he got traded to Vegas in that massive deal that is now netted the Toronto Rock, you know, the number 2 pick in the draft, this past draft that happened. I think Rob Hellyer with Jeff Teat is something that we've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it with other people off show. Jeff Teat has been craving a player like this in his NLL career since he's come into the league. The New York Riptide, Ottawa Black Bears, they've given Jeff Teat pieces, but they've never given him a player of Rob Hellyer's stature. And that's no slight to the players that are on that roster that Jeff has played with. It just never felt like those guys were the fit. Like they were the contributing pieces, but there was never that true number 2 option. And now Rob Hellyer goes to Ottawa. Why I think this is a good trade for San Diego. San Diego, one, gets younger. They have needed to do that for a couple of years now. Instead of just this, let's shuffle the deck, sign, you know, guys that are still in their prime but getting a little bit older, veteran free agents, and seeing if they fit with the core that we have in place. They get younger. They bring in Dunkerley, which we saw Riglieri get hurt in the postseason last year, if I'm not mistaken, or it might have been the year before, but you need a quality backup goalie in the NLL if you want to succeed. Especially pending any back-to-backs this year. Like you're going to need somebody, and Dunkerley has proven he can start in this league, so I think that's a massive get for them. You get younger on defense, and you bolster the defense, and you get a future second-round pick, which we know in the NLL, second-round picks can be wildly valuable depending on how you draft. I like this trade for both teams. I think it's a win-now move for Ottawa, and not that I think they're going to win now, but this is a move that pushes them closer to where we have thought they have needed to be for quite some time. And for San Diego, this is a let's reshuffle the deck, but with a brand new pack of cards instead of the same old thing we've been trying with cards we find outside of, you know, a San Diego casino?
First, I kind of want to touch on San Diego. I think, like you said, I think this is honestly a better move for them than some people think. They've needed to get younger for a while, and to me, like I told you pre-pod, this really solidifies that they've stepped out of that win now mindset and movement. Like when you look at the rosters that they've had since at least 2021, it's all been star-studded. 5, 6, 7, 8 household names, huge names that everybody knows that like should be top of the skill ladder and have all the pieces to make a championship run. And they're getting bounced pretty early in the playoffs. And as somebody who just went through something very frustrating the previous night before recording this, because somebody fixed something that wasn't broken, it's about time that San Diego fixed something that was broken. This idea that they had of going out and getting these star-studded guys, big names, and that they would all mesh together and just create this super team that was going to go and win an NLL Cup, it was not working.
It worked in the regular season.
And they tried and tried and tried and tried, and then they finally said, okay, it's time to pivot. And that's what this move tells me, is that they've officially pivoted. Even with some of the moves they made last year in free agency and some of the trades they made last year, going and getting certain guys, i.e. Zach Currier for one, tells me that they started to make that adjustment. Like, hey, let's go get a few guys that are a little bit younger that can contribute now and still like give us that championship feel. Like bringing on a guy like Zach Currier makes you younger, but also makes you feel like you can still win a championship right now. And those were the kind of moves that they made. Rob Hellyer, etc. Like going and doing those moves that they've made me know that they were trying to still win a championship in that moment while also thinking about the future. This is a complete, hey, it's time to think about the future for this team, because what we have been doing of trying to win in this very moment does not work. Or it hasn't worked. Not that it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. For us, it's time to pivot. They finally did that, went and got some younger guys, and it's going to make them better for the long term. Very similar to what the Green Bay Packers did. They finally let go of Devontae and Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb and, Aaron Jones and these guys that have been there for a handful of years, and basically this win now movement where it's like, hey, we're going after certain pieces because we believe we can win this season. So we only want people that are going to help us win this season. They got away from that. They got younger. They went to the draft, made moves, and now they're trying to figure it out, but this year isn't going to be the year, in my opinion. But they're getting closer, and they're set for the future. The moves that they made have set them to have success beyond this season. San Diego is finally looking without blinders, and they can see success this season, but they also want to see success beyond this season.
Mm-hmm.
Ottawa, on the other hand, this is okay, we have the best player in the world, and we're basically squatting on it and ruining his career. Not literally, because Jeff Teat is still having a great career, but could we imagine if he's making it to the semis, if he's making it to the NLL Cup, even if he's not winning it, but he's making it there?
Can we imagine Jeff Teat in the playoffs for the first time in his NLL career?
Exactly. Can we imagine him getting all the way to the Cup and winning it? These are all things that can be done, but he needs the pieces there to help him. So far, he hasn't quite had, like you said, just that one B. Like, he has some B's, C's, D's, guys that are behind him, some 2s and 3s that can help, but you need somebody that is almost just as good as you are, that can do a lot of the same things you can at a very high level to assist you and be there right next to you and make defenses also think about them and game plan for them and give you space to be yourself. That's what Rob Hellyer brings to Jeff Teat, is the ability to be that second guy, that 1B guy that is going to allow Jeff to flourish and have space and really create on that side of the turf and the field for him, it really changes their offense. I think they still have some defensive problems to deal with. I think that they still have some middle of the field things, some chemistry things, etc. But their offense just got tremendously better. And if we look at the last couple years, even dating back to when they were the Riptide, I can count almost on two hands and one foot the amount of 1-goal games or 2-goal games that could have been changed and different with a guy like Rob Hellyer there. Maybe they win those games. Maybe we're talking about Jeff Teat already having a playoff appearance because those games turn out differently with just an extra, come on, it's Rob Hellyer. 9 times out of 10, that's an extra 3 points a game. And in some of these games, that is a victory just because they have those extra 3 points that they didn't have before. He brings another element to the offense that's really going to, I think, help them in some of those tight games that they've lost before. They have another veteran presence that can help Jeff and the rest of this offense be productive in those very pivotal games.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the players that they acquired too, and you look at their pending free agents whenever free agency starts. San Diego Seals, 2 of their 3 free agents are Kyle Rubish and Cam Holding. Still very good defensemen, but getting older defensemen. You don't know if they're going to leave. They can both reject the franchise tag. You traded for Dustin Burkhoff, who is 24 years old, and you traded for Andrew Dalton, who I think Ottawa drafted this year because he was at Cornell last year. So you have 2 very young defensemen coming in now, along with a young backup goalie to go with your young starting goalie, and a conditional second-round pick. That, to me, is smart business by Patrick Merrill to say, hey, we need to get this defensive core younger to grow together. That way they can play well in front of a Wrigley, in front of Dunks whenever he has to play. And you get off of the Hellyer contract, which, sure, does it suck to lose a former MVP? Yes, but you also have to recognize, like, hey, we need to start developing our own talent too. We need to start having younger players that can come into this system and work and not just put big expensive band-aids on everything and think that we can just, operate business as usual. But for a team like Ottawa now, you add that to Larson Sundown, Riley O'Connor, who is a pending free agent, sure, Travis Longboat, Connor Kiernan, and most importantly, Jeff Teat. Eric Fennell is a pending free agent. Now I think you can say, hey, Eric Fennell, c'est la vie. You traded Taggart Clark to Oshawa. There's space for a guy like Rob Hellyer on this team. And you look at their transition unit too, I think that's only going to help now that you have Rob Hellyer, that you have Jay Thornberry as your faceoff guy. You have Jake Stevens, John LaFontaine, Kevin Brownell. Like, that transition unit is sneaky underrated. And I think Jake Stevens is only going to get better after having played a majority of this PLL season and playing alongside Jeff Teat. That's going to help. And Rob Hellyer is going to be a big addition to this Ottawa team. And I think San Diego did good business getting younger, preparing for when/if Holding and or Rubish move on in free agency. And you call it there. I think it's a very fair trade on both sides. I think for Ottawa, it's an A-, simply because you do lose some young defensemen, which you need defense. That was a huge issue for them last year. But you still have one of the best goalies in the league in Zach Higgins holding it down in between the pipes for you. And for San Diego, I think it's an A- because you got younger, you got young defense, and you also acquired a draft pick that you can use. And I think San Diego needs draft picks that they can use in the future to continue getting this roster younger and develop more of a core rather than putting Band-Aids on a core.
Yeah, I think both teams really got pieces that are going to be helpful for them when they needed them. I think timing is really important with getting pieces in free agency and trading is where are you as an organization? Where is that player in their career? What do you need? What do they need? And how do those pieces all mesh together at the time of when the trade is made? I think both these teams made this trade at the right time for them. And people will only be able to see that in the long term. And it may work out a little bit more for one team than the other. In my opinion, I think that one team could be Ottawa. I think they're possibly the team that gets off a little bit better in this and how it may unlock Jeff Teat and the rest of that offense. But I could be completely wrong, and we could be looking at San Diego hoisting an NLL Cup within the next couple of years as well. So I think this is a good trade for both sides, and only time will truly tell.
100%. I think it's going to be one that we look back on and be like, that was pretty even at the end of the day. And it's no slight to Rob Hellyer. He's 33. You know, you're getting the final years of his prime, and you go from there. But it is wild to me that even without an active CBA in place, we can still make trades involving players and draft picks and everything, because we're just in la-la land out here. Rob Hellyer trade breakdown brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, if you want to stand out in the crowd wherever you go, whether you're taking in an NLL game, hopefully, fingers crossed, getting ready for a college season, gearing up for the PLL next summer, what'll be here before you know it. You just want to rep your favorite lacrosse player's favorite lacrosse podcast in the backyard when you're shooting around. No better place to do it than with our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Get your shirts and hoodies, your official OTB shirts and hoodies at phiapparel.co. And when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your next merch order from our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company, and stand out in the crowd with the official merch partner of the Outside the Box podcast and Underground Sports Philadelphia. All right, Deej, let's do it. Let's dive into the 2019 PLL Draft. As we don't have much to talk about, even though we somehow found a way to stretch the CBA and the Rob Hellyer trade into about 48 minutes of content, because that's how we do. We're going to do revisionist history and a redraft of the 2019 PLL Draft. Deej and I will go through each round. It's just the players available and Ryder Garnsey. So the 24 players that were selected plus Ryder Garnsey. So there's 25 available players. We can agree on where players will go, and this is all in whatever, vision we want to take it in. As, obviously there's a big name that never ended up playing lacrosse, so we can still use that guy wherever you want to use him, and kind of just do this in the lens of 2019, but what we know now, if that makes any sense. So we will go through. We'll go round by round, and we'll keep it the same draft order that it was, which was Archers, Atlas, Chrome, Whipsnakes, Chaos. And then it flips. So then it's kind of like a snake draft. So then it goes Chaos, Redwoods, Whipsnakes, Chrome, Atlas, Archers. And then the third round is the same as the first. Fourth round is the same as the second. But yeah, so we'll go round by round, and we will do a little revisionist history redraft of the 2019 PLL Draft, and this will be brought to you by our PLL app code. Guys, there's no better way to keep up to date with everything that goes on in the PLL during the off season, the regular season, the postseason, pretty much all year round in the PLL than in the PLL app. It's gamified, so you earn experience points each and every day for just completing tasks in the app, PLL Fantasy during the season, and before you know it, PLL Championship Series will be here. So download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to pll.app And when you go to the redeem code section, use code OTBPOD. That's code OTBPOD, and you get 500 XP on your account. So download the PLL app, go to the redeem code section, and type in OTBPOD to get 500 XP on your account and keep up to date with everything going on in the PLL all year round in the PLL app. All right, Deej. The revisionist history redraft of the 2019 PLL College Draft. Chris Bates and the Archers had the first pick. It's pretty crazy. This is going to be the third time in 7 years? 8 years? Will this be? Yeah, next year will be the 8th season, right, for the PLL?
Yeah.
So the third time in 8 seasons that the Archers will have the number 1 pick. How does Chris Bates do it? Which, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on whoever the Archers draft, not only for just like success reasons, but there was 2 generational players that Chris Bates took with those number 1 overall picks in 2019 and 2020. So a lot of pressure to live up to with the Archers number 1 pick moniker there. But Deej, in the 2019 draft, in the actual draft, the number 1 overall pick to the Archers Lacrosse Club was one Pat Spencer, who is now a pretty big staple bench player and calling out owners in the NBA for the Golden State Warriors, and he's out here hooping. Pat Spencer was taken number 1 in this draft that includes Ryder Garnsey, this player pool of 25 players. If you were in Chris Bates' shoes right now and it's 2019 with all of the information you know, are you still going Pat Spencer number 1?
I think no. Now the question of who gets drafted first?
Who then are you taking number 1 in the revisionist redraft of the 2019 PLL College Draft? There are a lot of names that are worthy of this title.
Brad Smith.
Interesting. And your reasoning?
Based off everything we know now, I think he just fits their dodging model and how they play offense, but also like he still allows flexibility. Like he can play off of Tom or whoever else you would have had in that midfield, but he also like could allow, like he could be your one guy on that midfield, and you could move one of those midfield guys down to attack. Like he fits that carousel type offense that they have there. And I don't think he would have drastically changed anything to where guys like Matt Moore, Grant Ament, etc., who would have possibly come in after, wouldn't have been able to fit either.
Now, I do want to see here. Because on the original Archers team, too, if Pat Spencer did end up playing, he would have ended up playing alongside the likes of, like you mentioned, Tom Schreiber.
Oh, that was Will Manny and Marcus Holman.
Will Manny and Marcus Holman were also on that roster. Also on that roster, why is the post like this? That is strange. Oh, here we go. Also on that roster, offensively, were Ryan Ambler, obviously, Christian Cuccinello, Kevin Rice, and Davey Amala. And then you also had Ian McKay. You had Dominique Alexander. You had Mark McNeil. Ben McIntosh was an original member of the Archers.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Sims. Tyler Feister. Danny Ipe. So you would have been adding a very valuable piece in Pat Spencer there. But looking at that roster, you add Brad Smith to Tom Schreiber, Will Manny, Marcus Holman, Ryan Ambler, and the rest of those guys. That's a pretty solid addition. I'll give you that. That would be very fun. But looking at something here that I just can't help but get it out of my head. Looking at that defense that obviously had Matt McMahon, Scott Ratliff was in that mix, Jackson Place was in that mix, Evan Connell. I can't help but use my first overall pick on Jack Rowlett. Yeah, Jack Rowlett to Matt McMahon, Scott Ratliff, Jackson Place. Who knows what the Carolina Chaos end up looking like once we're done here. But Jack Rowlett on that defense, especially now, you'd have Jack, you'd have Graham Hossack, and Warren Jeffrey. That's pretty crazy. So I think I would go Jack Rowlett with the number 1 pick, as wild as that sounds. But I do love your pick too. Like going back and looking at that Archers roster, that would be a ton of fun to add Brad Smith to the mix with Will Manny and Marcus Holman and Tom Schreiber.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate your pick either because, like, I think defense was one of their struggle points at that time. I was just thinking that there were a little more defenders in this draft. So I could get the Archers another solid defender later in this draft. But it doesn't hurt to go and get the best defender right away.
Which takes us to the number 2 overall pick, which was the Atlas Lacrosse Club. And they ended up taking one Ryan Conrad with the number 2 pick.
I think that one might have stayed as is.
I think so too.
I don't think they would have gone with
like
anything
looking at
different.
Their original roster, like midfield makeup wise, it was Joel Tinney, it was Paul Rabel, it was John Crawley, Connor Busick,
who we know now is leaving soon.
Right. Kevin Unterstein, Steve DiNapoli, Stephen Brooks. I think Ryan Conrad is the correct pick for sure.
I like that pick a lot.
I don't think
there's anything that needs to change about that.
And the funny part is, even though we know Connor Busick was leaving, 1 year later the Water Dogs come in and they take Ryan Conrad in the expansion draft because the Atlas left him unprotected.
Yep.
Which brings us to the 3rd pick in the 2019 draft. It was the Chrome Lacrosse Club who took Zach Goodrich.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at their roster, I'm also cracking up at Mike Manley's Bitmoji that they used on this original roster. He had sunglasses on, so he looks full on state trooper. Looking at their roster, I mean, who else were they going to go with, really? There was a definite need, and they genuinely got a position of need and the best player at that position at the time. So yeah, I gotta agree. Zach Goodrich stays the number 3 pick in the revisionist redraft of the 2019 PLL Draft. Which now brings us to a very interesting spot, Deej. We go to the Whipsnakes, who drafted Alex Woodall with the number 4 overall pick, who, mind you, he played in the PLL, I think, for 1 game. He did not sign with the Whipsnakes because he played in the MLL, was drafted number 1 overall in the MLL that same season. I think it's an obvious. You're not drafting Alex Woodall here. I am not drafting Alex Woodall here. But who are you taking with the number 4 overall pick?
I already gave away the guy they probably would have gone with.
Which they eventually did go with at pick number 9.
Right. Probably Clark Peterson, actually.
Okay.
I think with who they had at the time, offensively, he would have been a guy to come in behind Jay Carlson and learn behind Jay and take over for Jay and basically just allow you to continue to run that same offense you have when Jay Carlson decides to retire in, I think, what was like 2 more years.
Yeah, because that was what? Jay
Or
Carlson, Rambo, and Drenner was running at attack.
Yeah, for a minute until he got sent to the dogs.
Correct. But that 2019 season, he was playing at attack because they did have Jules.
Yep, and then they traded him.
So yeah, I don't hate that pick. He's essentially, it makes Jules even more expendable at that point because it's like, hey, we're gonna take a bet on our rookie here. Looking at the Whipsnakes original roster, let's see here, just to get a taste of what they were working with. It's so funny going back and looking at these original rosters. Because they definitely needed midfield help. They had Jeremy Sieverts, Joe Locasio, Drew Snyder, Tim Rotans, Jeff Reynolds, Connor Kelly. Let's see. Where is the draft board? Who am I going to take? I believe this is so tough. I think they're going to go similar route, and I think this is a guy, too, that just did not get a fair shake in the PLL, because I think he could have, in the right situation, been pretty solid. I'm going to say the Whipsnakes take a big surprise, and they go Brendan Gleeson at pick 4.
Okay. I did look. Vein, I looked at Gleason's name, and I was like,
similar vein to Clark. Know. But I always felt like Gleeson is such a big what if in the PLL. Like he never got a true opportunity, whether it be injury or just not enough roster space for whatever team he was on. But I think in the right spot, he could have really been a quality player for a couple of years. And I think Stags would have liked that potential. So I'm going to go Brendan Gleeson at pick 4, which now takes us to pick 5, and that is the Redwoods, who did take Clark Peterson at pick 5.
Obviously, you know where I'm going. It's the reason I didn't lend this to many of the other guys that needed this position as well. Ryder Garnsey, I don't really feel like he belongs on any other team.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting when free agency comes around and like eventually the Redwoods are ready to move on. Is it going to be one of those, hey, sign and retire do you want to go somewhere else? Are we just going to have to force you to retire? Like, I don't really see him in another jersey. And if it does happen to be another jersey, I wonder which one it's going to be. But I think they would have just drafted him hindsight. Like, hey, what were we thinking in the first place? This dude is electric.
I agree. I'm taking Ryder there, especially knowing the relationship that Nat had with Ryder. In that particular moment, was kind of doing his homework. Like, Ryder Garnsey was always meant to put on a Redwoods uniform. So Ryder Garnsey is my pick as well, which takes us to the final pick of the first round, and that is the Chaos Lacrosse Club, who with this pick, they took Johnny Surdick. And Deej, guess what? In my draft, they're still going to take Johnny Surdick. I think Johnny Surdick, in his time that he did play, was wildly talented. The military obligations obviously played a part in why his career was not as long as it could or should have been. But I still think Andy Towers drafts Johnny Surdick there, and he was a huge reason why the Chaos had so much success in 2019 and 2021 when he played.
Yeah, I think I have to... Sorry, no. I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. I think they take Jack first. I think they just flip their two picks. I think they take Jack first and then take Johnny. Not that it matters where they're picked with them going back to back. I just think they would have been like, you know what? Jack deserves to be a first round guy. He's that kind of caliber player. We'll take him first, and Johnny goes second. Especially them knowing that Johnny is going to, leave for military obligations.
Yeah. So Johnny Surdick is the first pick for you in the second round, which now I have to make a very fun pick because Jack Rowlett went number 1 in my revisionist redraft. So now who are the Chaos going to add to Jared Newman and this defense? Looking at the board here, you know who feels very Chaos, but never played with the Chaos? Because he ended up going later on in this draft and then went to another team in this draft. Chris Sabia. I think his energy and just his vibe felt very Chaos. Obviously, he was part of that Water Dogs team that won, and we know how fun that Water Dogs team was in 2022. But without Jack Rowlett on the board, I think I could see Andy Towers going to Chris Sabia, especially knowing what we know now about Andy Towers and his affinity for Penn State. I'm going to go Chris Sabia at my first pick in the second round there. So they still fill defense, but it's with a different player instead of Jack Rowlett. Deej, the Redwoods are now on the clock once again, and with their pick, they took midfielder Tyler Dunn from Penn. Listener of the pod. Shout out T. Dunn.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't think Tyler's the pick there. I think they go with Cade, CVR.
Okay.
I think you see the transition presence and the 2-point presence he presents while also being an absolute ground ball monster, and is still a shutdown defender at times, can be a takeaway artist, can be on the wing for you during faceoffs. You just see an all-around long pole that can still fit your scheme, even though it's heavily Notre Dame, that is an ACC foe of his. I think he still fits into what the Redwoods' idea of defense was at the time.
Man, the defense would have had Glaze, Epple, Matt Landis, and Cade Van Raphorst. God damn. I thought about Cade Van Raphorst there. But I'm going to go with a player that they did end up drafting just a little bit later on now, rather than where he initially went. I'm going to go Clark Peterson.
Oh, Boy, I thought you was finna pull somebody up from a later round. I was finna go nuts. Because I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yes. But I'm going to go Clark Peterson there. I still think Nat drafts him. But with Ryder on the board there, you take Ryder in the first round, no doubt about it. And then if Clark is still there, like he was for me, you take him, pair those two up with, the offense that they had. You end up getting Westberg down the line. You end up getting Jules down the line. But I think with Clark and Ryder there together, makes a lot of sense. And we saw what they were able to do for a little bit of time when Clark was on that Redwoods game day roster. So I go Clark Peterson with the second round pick there for the Redwoods, which now takes us back to the Whips, Deej. And you have to make a new selection because with the 9th pick, they did take Brad Smith.
Yeah, I do. Shoot. I like your pick from later, Gleason. I think maybe they take Gleason here.
I'm dumb. Second. I'm going to put a kibosh on my Gleason pick when I did because I'm dumb and forgot I didn't take Brad Smith. I think the Whipsnakes take Brad Smith in the first round. And I'm with you on Gleason with the Whips there in the second round. So my mistake, because I copy and pasted everything and I still had Brad Smith taken. But Brad Smith is my Whipsnakes pick in the first round. Gleason is your pick in the second round. He's also my pick in the second round. I like that a lot. Makes a lot of sense for what Stags does with his midfield and the way that he uses guys that are kind of hybrid attackmen midfielders. So I like that pick a lot. And I think we would have seen a lot of success with Brendan Gleason with the Whipsnakes and Matt Rambo and Jay Carlson and a whole lot of fun there. So you go Clark Peterson, Brendan Gleason for the Whips. I go Brad Smith, Brendan Gleason, which takes us to Chrome. And they took Chris Sabia with their second round pick, which means I have to make a new pick. I think for me, Chrome will end up taking a guy who gets taken later, so it just makes my board a little bit more annoying. I think they go Curtis Corley here, who the Archers ended up taking in the second round a couple picks later. But without Sabia available, I'm going to go Curtis Corley.
I think they go with Sabia.
Okay.
I think they stick with that. They like that pick. He fits their scheme, and it's a guy that coach seemed to have been fond on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that changes based upon who's available in this draft.
Now, a lot of you sitting at home are probably like, KB, you still have Cade Van Raphorst on your board. Yes, he's going to the Atlas still on my board. Simply because I think Dom Starja, love him to death. I think he would have used some ACC bias with his Virginia ties and not taken a Duke player and let CVR fall, and he remains with the Atlas Lacrosse Club in my revisionist redraft.
Which is that? That's 11.
Yes.
Feel like Richard's a short stay. Yeah, I have him taking Noah Richard.
Okay.
I don't remember who he was.
Jake Richards' brother.
Yeah.
I like that. They did end up taking Noah Richard in the third round of this draft, so they just take him a round earlier for you, which takes us to the final pick of the second round, and that is the Archers, who took Curtis Corley with that pick, which means I have to give them a different pick, and I think I'm going to have them draft. You might call me crazy here, Deej. They might call me a madman. But I think you're going to like this pick. You team him up with Tom and Ambler, and I think he lasts longer in the PLO. I'm going to say the Archers draft Brent Noseworthy. The Michigan man. He went in the fourth round. We've seen him have a ton of success in the NLL. We've seen him have glimmers and shimmers in the PLL. But I think if he ended up similar to Brendan Gleeson, if he ended up in the right spot, he could have had a lot more success. And Brent Noseworthy feels like he could have really thrived, very much like Cam Wires does with the Archers. I feel like Brent could have really thrived with the Archers. So I'm going to have them draft him with the second round pick there to close out the second round. Which now the Archers are on a wraparound because we are into the third round of the 2019 Revisionist Redraft in the PLL. This is where it gets fun and interesting because some of these guys never made it. Or they did, and it was like a blip on
I
the
have them
radar.
taking Corley here
Okay.
because I didn't use him before.
So he was your second round pick.
Or no, sorry. If second round for me would have been, I think they would have taken Tuttle instead, Max Tuttle.
Okay.
And then taken Corley in the 13th.
Yes. Okay. So that means my pick here, because in the original draft, the Archers took Colton Jackson, a midfielder from Denver. And they just went midfielder here in my draft. I'm going to have them take... I'm going to have them take Noah Richard here. Feels like a very Batesy pick. Feels like Piper Bond, Connor Marr before Piper Bond, Connor Marr type of pick. So I'll go Noah Richard there with the third round pick for the Archers, which takes us to the Atlas Deej, who they ended up taking Noah Richard with the 14th pick in this draft.
I think they're going to take Brent Noseworthy since
Okay.
I used Noah Richard earlier. I don't, because like looking back even now, like none of their coaches had their eye on Brent for, I think,
Right.
the reason of Michigan not being the caliber that they are now. So I think that still kind of holds him back, but he fit into that locker room of Atlas in that midfield so well. Just his style of dodging and play and the way he and all those things. It was a Atlas midfielder. I think he stays and just gets lucky to get moved up around.
Yeah, and I think he's a player that, even though it was a short amount of time, exceeded expectations of being a fourth-round pick in the PLL. So for me, I'm going to flip-flop here. The Atlas end up taking Max Tuttle for me, which means I have to make a new pick for the Chrome, which is what this whole exercise is about. Very fun. Because with that pick, they did take Max Tuttle. He is off both of our boards. So who do you have the Chrome Lacrosse Club selecting with the 15th pick in the Revisionist Redraft of the 2019 PLL Draft?
Um, Colton Jackson. I think they flip flop.
Okay. Colton Jackson. I'm going to move a player up around here as well. And I think Chrome end up taking Connor Farrell. He went in the 4th round that season. And knowing what we know, I think Connor Farrell just goes around earlier and becomes the first face-off guy off the board for us here in this draft. Clearly the best one as well.
That's an interesting pick, my guy.
Well, don't worry. I got more up my sleeve. Which brings us to the Whipsnakes, who in 2019 actually took Isaac Paparo, defenseman from UMass. Who do you have the Whips taking there, Deej? Because you did have, to give you a little glimpse back, you took Clark Peterson and Brennan Gleeson with your first 2 picks.
Tyler Dunn.
Okay. I think he ended up playing for the Whips. Am I wrong?
Maybe we're thinking about Matt.
No, I know Matt didn't. I feel like Tyler Dunn ended up on a training camp roster. I could be wrong. I know he played for the Redwoods, obviously. Let me see here. All season. No, just 2 seasons with the Woods. Okay. Tyler Dunn goes to the Whips at pick 16 for Deej. For me, they took Brad Smith and they took Brendan Gleeson. I am going to say the Whipsnakes. They wind up taking I think they stick with Isaac Paparo. I know he didn't really amount to much with them simply because their defense was loaded. But I think with where they are in my draft, it just makes sense for them to stay put with who they took after getting both Brad Smith and Brendan Gleeson. So you solidify that attack in midfield a little bit more, go defense there, get a position that you haven't taken yet, which brings us to the Redwoods, Deej, who in that draft selected the aforementioned Brendan Gleeson with the 17th pick.
I'm gonna have to go Paparo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Isaac Paparo. This is where I think the Redwoods now take Tyler Dunn. Ended up playing 2 seasons for them, 10 total games. Was part of their bubble team. I just think he goes around later, simply because you drafted Ryder Garnsey, and that allows you to kind of just extend your draft board a little bit more. So I think they take Tyler Dunn with that selection. And that brings us to the final pick of the 3rd round, which is the Chaos Lacrosse Club taking Grayson Terrain, a defenseman from Navy, who I don't know if he ever played for the Chaos. He might have played in that 2019 season, but I'm not 100% certain. I'll do a little research as we attempt to make our selection here. But I don't know if Grayson Terrain ever played for the Chaos.
I don't think so. Trying to vividly remember.
I'm going to Google search his name because I don't know, because obviously Navy, I don't know if the military obligations ever allowed him.
They're always in the way.
So he did play in 5 games in 2019.
Okay.
But that was his lone season in the PLL. who am I going to select? Now, for just reminders, Deej, you had Carolina take Jack and Johnny with their first 2 picks. So defense there. Pretty crazy that AT went 3 straight defense. But I am going to say they go Colton Jackson on my board. He's still available. Get a little midfield bolstering there. I'm going to go Colton Jackson with my pick. Who do you got Carolina taking with the final pick in the 3rd round?
I think their 2 picks stay the same.
So they
Back
take
to back.
Grayson Terrain.
Yeah. The next one, too, I think is also the same.
Grayson Terrain. And their next pick was Austin Henningsen, face-off athlete from Maryland. I think he played a little bit, or was like signed to rosters.
I think he was signed, but I don't think he ever.
Yeah.
I don't know that he ever made a game day roster.
Right. Chaos 4th round pick here for me. This is the most AT pick. This is where Pat Spencer goes. This adds to the AT lore and really kickstarts it in the most AT way. They go Pat Spencer, draft and stash. Then obviously the following year they go Jeff Teat. Then they go Jared Bernhardt. They go Dylan Hess. It just starts the lore a year earlier. So this is where I think Pat Spencer goes on the board. Is he goes in the 4th round in the now we know Andy Towers draft and stash round. And they take Pat Spencer.
Not a bad
Takes
pick.
us to the Redwoods, who with this pick took Tim Troutner.
Unfortunately, I believe that this pick will stay the same. If there was someone else, by all means.
You froze on me, but I'm assuming you're taking Tim Troutner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Tim as well. And the reason for me, because guess what? At the end of the day, Tim Troutner, very successful when you look back at it, PLL career. The reason he doesn't go higher for me is because the Redwoods in this draft are really the only team that needed a goalie at the time. Every other team had a goalie coming into the season. You look at the Archers, they had the tandem of Gittleman and Drew Adams. You look at the Atlas, they brought in Jack Kincannon from the MLL. Chrome had Galloway. Whipsnakes were rocking with Burnlore, and did they have anybody else besides Kyle?
I think they had somebody, but they weren't like...
Burnlore was the starter, though.
Yeah.
And then you look at Chaos, they had Blaze, and then they brought in Austin Kaut, eventually. You look at every other team, yes, Jack Kelly, but Jack Kelly was recovering from injury at the time. So I don't even think he would have been available. So that's why you can wait to take Tim Troutner in this draft, especially when Ryder Garnsey is available, to us at this point. So yeah, Tim Troutner is the pick there, and that's the only reason he falls to the 4th round again, is simply because you have other positions to fill if you're not St. Laurent in this position, in this spot, and you can still wait to take Tim Troutner in the 4th round and still get your guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's my reasoning for this pick and the next pick is both these teams are really the only teams that needed these guys at this position, so they were able to take advantage of that.
So you're sticking Whip Snakes with...
Or, sorry, no. Yeah, Whip Snakes keep that guy, but that isn't for the reasoning.
Okay, so the Whip Snakes, you have them still sticking with John Danagelis.
Yes. Do still have them rocking with Danagelis.
Which I could have them stick with him. But I think this is where he falls to them. The Maryland connection. This is where I have Austin Henningsen going.
Okay.
You know, they didn't take Woodall, obviously, in either of our drafts in the first round. Henningsen is available. Connor Farrell is off the board on my board. Still need a face-off guy. And you take Henningsen there with that pick, which you tipped your pick there. You're going Connor Farrell here for Chrome.
Yep. I think
Makes
that they
a ton of
still,
sense.
that for the reason that nobody else needed a face-off guy.
Which is why I'm going Alex Woodall, because Connor Farrell, or no, I had Connor Farrell taken by the Chrome. I'm dumb.
Yeah, you
Chrome.
did earlier.
Which takes me to...
Oh, shoot. Change my Danagelis to Woodall.
Okay.
I forgot that they wanted a backup face-off guy, and I did not give Woodall to anybody.
Yeah. Alex Woodall. Also, I'm cracking up. We're recording this on a Sunday. The Cowboys just lost to the Panthers.
Hey, the Panthers got some ballers, all right?
They are certified vibes.
They got Rico Dowdle, who obviously was playing a revenge game.
That's incredible. Amazing stuff. So, yeah. Chrome now, in my book, will take... I'm going to have Chrome take Grayson Terrain here. Kind of a dart throw pick. Obviously knowing the military obligations and stuff. But I'm going to have Chrome take Grayson Terrain there. Which takes us to the Atlas, who took Brent Noseworthy in the actual draft here.
I have them taking Danagelis.
Okay.
Or did I want them to take... Yeah.
I'm going to have them take John Prendergast, who was the Mr. Irrelevant of this draft. I know Chaos were supposed to be like the Duke team and everything, but I feel like, you know, when Noseworthy's off the board, you go and get the best available. So I'm going to go Prendergast there, which takes us to the Archers, Deej. Who do you have as the true Mr. Irrelevant in our revisionist redraft?
Pat Spencer.
Okay.
You know you're probably not going to get him, but if you can take him as the last pick and then he somehow shows up, what a fucking steal.
I'm going to go Alex Woodall. Both the other face-off guys in this draft taken off the board. I still think, you know, yes, you had Bones Kelly and who was the other face-off guy for the Archers? It was Bones and I forget who the other guy was, but they also had Jerry Raganese, who ended up getting traded, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to go Alex Woodall there, which means you're Mr. Undrafted to replace Ryder Garnsey, is Prendergast. And mine is Danagelis. So to recap, Deej, this is your revisionist redraft of the 2019 PLL Draft. Brad Smith to the Archers, Ryan Conrad to Atlas, Zach Goodrich to Chrome, Clark Peterson to the Whips, Ryder Garnsey to the Redwoods, Jack Rowlett to Chaos, Johnny Surdick to Chaos, Cade Van Raphorst to the Redwoods, Brendan Gleason to the Whips, Chris Sabia to Chrome, Noah Richard to Atlas, Max Tuttle to the Archers, Curtis Corley to the Archers, Brent Noseworthy to Atlas, Colton Jackson to Chrome, Tyler Dunn to the Whipsnakes, Isaac Paparo to the Redwoods, and Grayson Terrain to Chaos, followed by Austin Henningsen to Chaos, Tim Troutner to the Woods, Alex Woodall to the Whips, Connor Farrell to Chrome, John Danagelis to the Atlas, and Pat Spencer to the Archers.
Say we did solid work.
And then my revisionist redraft, Jack Rowlett goes number 1 overall to the Archers, Ryan Conrad, Zach Goodrich to Atlas and Chrome respectively. Brad Smith goes in the first round to the Whips, Ryder Garnsey to the Redwoods, Johnny Surdick to Chaos, Chris Sabia to Chaos, Clark Peterson to the Redwoods, Brendan Gleason to the Whipsnakes, Curtis Corley to Chrome, Cade Van Raphorst to Atlas, and Brent Noseworthy to the Archers, followed by Noah Richard to the Archers, Max Tuttle to Atlas, Connor Farrell to Chrome, Isaac Paparo to the Whipsnakes, Tyler Dunn to the Redwoods, Colton Jackson to Chaos, Pat Spencer to Chaos, Tim Troutner to the Redwoods, Austin Henningsen to the Whipsnakes, Grayson Terrain to Chrome, Atlas take John Prendergast, and Archers take Alex Woodall. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was a lot of brain work, and we did that all on the fly, everyone. We did all of that reorganization on the fly. So that was fun to kind of just in real time see where your brain went, if we were on the same page. If you enjoyed that, we'll put graphics out for this too. I think that'll be a lot of fun for people to kind of take in and see oh shit, that would have been wild. Let us know if you want us to do this for 2020, 2021. What do you think the biggest revisionist cutoff is? How long back?
I don't think we should do before 2019.
No. I mean of PLL drafts. How soon is it, or does it still could we go back and do 2025?
I think 4 years at least, maybe 3 years, at least 3 years.
Okay.
So because then it gives guys time to kind of
2023.
Yeah, to make a name for themselves, and then we get a new year to add to the list every year. But yeah, I think 3 years kind of gives guys a chance to get their footing in the league, find out where they fit into their team, and actually make a name for themselves before we start banishing them to to some other team.
Oh, what Brian Holman did with Pat Cav?
You don't say.
Just kidding. I love you, Brian. That trade worked for both teams.
We literally love Brian, but
that trade worked for both teams,
I mean,
you ended up getting Coulter Maxey,
right?
I think fits that team really, really well. And not that Pat didn't. I think Pat just fits better with the supporting cast that's around him, and it makes him more of the Notre Dame Pat Cav that we all know and love.
Yeah.
But that was fun. Let us know what picks you would have changed in the comment section. We'll put graphics out for this. I think people are gonna be like, "Huh? What?" And maybe down the line we do this with the NLL. If we get real sicko mode with 6 rounds in the NLL draft and not knowing as many of the guys, one way or another, because there's a lot of guys that are just strictly Canadian, and it would be a lot of fun. 2020 will be a lot easier because it's only 2 rounds.
It'll be
clockwork. I mean, 2020 we could also couple in the MLL entry draft. Since there was 2 rounds of that, we could also couple that in, which would be
And make it one big
to see.
Or do we do it separate? Like, okay.
Yeah, like here's the college draft, and now here's the entry draft, and because that would be crazy. Like the revisionist on that is, I think, even wilder than what a college draft could be.
Oh yeah, and I think we still do it the same order, like college first, then expansion, or was it the other way, or was it the other way?
That's a good question. I can check right now, actually.
I think we keep it the same order, though, of whichever one it was.
Entry draft was... That was March 16th was the entry draft. 2020 PLL college draft was... So entry draft was first. Entry draft was March 16th, and college draft was May 13th. And the entry draft was 2 rounds as well.
So yeah, entry then college. I think those get interesting.
Get real wild, because I'm looking at that list now. Whoo-wee.
There's some names flying around those lists.
That
real.
First round is wild.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. And some of them, 3 of them, 4 of them are teammates.
Yes. It is a crazy list.
4 of those guys in the first round of that entry draft are teammates. That's
actually
crazy. Wild. That's wild. That was a lot of fun. Let us know how you guys thought about that, and if you want us to keep doing it with the drafts up until 2023. I guess we would go up to, at this point, 24 and 25. Still very, very fresh and new. But going into this year, this will be year 3 for the 2023 draft class, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, let us know. We'll put graphics out. Let us know whose draft you liked better. And we'll keep doing these as long as we don't have all that much to talk about. I know we've been talking about guests. We did get a DM, Deej, that I'll talk to you about off pod. Could be an interesting guest to bring on. But yeah, let us know your revisionist redrafts. I like that term too. Revisionist redraft is just, it feels like something that doesn't get used enough and should be used more.
It is a fire term.
So yeah, the 2019 PLL Revisionist Redraft in the books here on OTB. We will be contacting the Boxy Award voters sometime this week and getting the ballot out to you all so that you can submit your votes. And that will be the episode the week of November 6th, which is our pod announcement anniversary, which will be a ton of fun. So make sure you guys are following us at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It really does help the show continue to grow. Gets us in the algorithm. Gets us on the podcast charts as well. So keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify and leaving those reviews. And of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show every single week. Plus, it will be the home of the Boxies. And it is where you get full video episodes, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It's all on our YouTube channel. I did try, because on the main channel, we now have the collaboration feature. So I did try that for the first time. So you might start seeing a lot more shorts collaborations as we test that out and see how it all works out. But I did try it. It was a little intricate at first, but I got the hang of it once it fully came through, because you have to send a link to the person that runs the other channel for them to open it up, and it's like, I guess I have to send this to myself because we run all the channels.
Facts.
But I was like, okay, this works, and then I got it to work because I just did one on the main channel with my own personal YouTube channel that just fit both of those. So now that I know how that works, you might start seeing some collab posts across both YouTube channels. So subscribe to the OTB channel as well, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. This has been episode number 396 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box Podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. We will catch you guys later this week with another episode. But until then, keep on being revisionist redrafters, and hopefully we get a CBA agreed to, and we get talking about NLL free agency. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, y'all. Peace.
Peace.